Thanks everyone for invitation. I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to join you tonight. My presentation will be about the Gerontology Research Group, the oldest and the largest institution that specializes in the validation of supercentenarians worldwide. It is very important for me to emphasize that our organization has already been working as a non-profit, which is very important in order to provide the reliability of the data, and it emphasizes the fact that we are and will continue to be always independent of any commercial interests. And that fits the best for science. That's how I and we do understand science and wish to stick to in the future. A little bit about me, since it's the first time we meet. I have graduated from Medical University of Silesia with DMD, and then with PhD from the same university. My institution, Gerontology Research Group, has been operating since 1990. I've been involved with it for 11 years now, first as correspondent for my native country, which is Poland. Later on, I took charge of Nordic countries as well, and in 2018, I became administrator for case validation. Our institution has been started by late Dr. Leslie Stephen Coles. He was the one who conducted, as the first one in history, autopsies on supercentenarians. He identified the pathological culmination of amyloidosis proteins as the main cause of death beyond age 110. He outlined the paths of future research and inspired the future generations of researchers for this scientific branch. A great friend and a great role model, the father of modern supercentenarian study, here portrayed with Antonia Guerrera Rivera of Puerto Rico, USA. In 2011, fate happened that Antonia Guerrera Rivera outlived Dr. Coles by 1 year because he died of cancer, a pancreatic cancer, 3 years after the picture was taken. And Antonia Guerrera Rivera continued to live until she was 115, finally passing away in 2015. Also, in the memory of Professor James Vaupel, whose main area of expertise was demographic study. Brief history of the GRG. The GRG introduced its website in 1995. In 1997, it began tracking the world's oldest validated living people. It then became consultant for the Guinness World Records, as well as for the Max Planck Institute for Demographic Research. In 2022, GRG starts recruiting country correspondents. In 2014, Dr. Coles died of cancer. New York Times called us the authority on the matter of verifying supercentenarians. Here is our legacy page, which many of you probably grow so much accustomed to. However, as times changed, we needed to modernize our technology. It happened in 2022 with the launch of a new website for supercentenarian validation, which has exponentially improved the validation itself. By 2020, the GRG has participated in over 30 international conferences, met 100 supercentenarians in many countries, collected blood samples for epigenetic research, and published 100 scientific articles. The structure of our institution is divided into two main branches: Aging Solutions Division, led by Johnny Adams, and Supercentenarian Research and Database Division. I will focus on the latter one, with the help of great friends, and I need to mention one of them, Oliver Thrim, who became our new admin assistant. He began as GRG correspondent for United Kingdom. In 2023, we also widened the team of our GRG correspondents into areas such as Italy, Serbia, and Iceland, with the addition of Dr. Arman Jakobson, but also Czech Republic, France, Netherlands. With Jer, we met at the conference of Max Planck Institution. What has to be said about scientific age validation is that validation always enables us to obtain database of supercentenarians capable of being used for further scientific evaluations. It can be strengthened by additional pieces of evidence and weakened to zero should one piece of evidence debunk the claim. Validation is never definitive, but remains always open for further investigation. And this is the validation procedure that GRG currently uses. It may seem a bit complicated. However, we make sure the process goes smoothly. First, applicators send us a case, then GRG administrator for case applications reviews the case. If it is complete, the case receives pending status. Then it is being sent to the GRG World Age Validation Committee, which always comprises of 5 most notable GRG members, including the president of the GRG. Then the team makes a decision whether the case is validated, debunked, or invalidated. And later on, the GRG administrators make proper changes on the website. In order to validate a case, we need to collect 3 pieces of evidence, and that has been standard since outlined by Dr. Michel Poulain of Belgium, world-renowned demographer and also a great friend of ours. We need, first and foremost, early life evidence that has to be issued within first 20 years of life. And it is involved with the case of Sarah Knaus, who was 119 years old, and for who the earliest census that allows her age was issued at the time he was 19. Where given her life story, given her family tree reconstruction, there was little doubt that she was the age she claims. So the age validation standards were, in a way, they were set in order for this case to meet the proper validation. As early life evidence, you can use birth certificate or baptismal record, but also school records could be used for that. Middle life evidence, such as marriage certificate, which serves as proof of the name change. As males, not necessarily, but females in many places in the world tend to change their name. In several countries, such as Hungary, females do not only change their given name, but also their family name and given name while getting married. And late life evidence, which is identification documents, could be passport, national ID card, whatever that proves that the person is the one that the documentation adheres to. And in order to validate, we use a special scale of validation. U is an unvalidated claim. F, false claim. Documentation invalidates it. E, exaggerated claim. Could still be a validated supercentenarian. In our practice, we met with supercentenarians exaggerated by as many as 20 years. It happens sometimes. D, debunked claim, proven to be false, but exact age is unknown. This occurrence happens rarely, but it does. Therefore, we had to include it in our scale. C, partial documentation. We have late life evidence. C plus, late life evidence plus middle life evidence. And then we have several scales for validated cases. B, proxy validation. When we were forced to use early life record within first 20 years. That was not a birth record or baptismal record, which means a record made on spot, which is always a stronger piece of evidence than a proxy piece of evidence. So A minus is full validation with 3 pieces of evidence, but with proxy early life record issued within 20 years window. And A is full validation with a birth or baptismal record. And finally, W, which I call as wonderful validation, where we not only get all 3 pieces of evidence, birth record, baptismal record, but also reconstruct the family tree and contact the family of the very supercentenarian we validate. And such an example of a W-validated case was Mrs. Czesława Łasiewicz. For her case, we collected her baptismal record, marriage record, 2 ID cards, and the list of local governor. Israel Crystal was validated by the Gerontology Research Group and Guinness World Records as the world's oldest man. He also happened to be the oldest Holocaust survivor. This research has been particularly challenging. We conducted it between 2013 and 2016 with the support of the family. It ended with a publication. His life story was recreated based on direct contact to the families, but even that made that the case has been very challenging. In total, we collected 17 pieces of documented evidence, and a variety of unique identifiers pointed out in each and every piece of evidence collected, thus raising the probability of all pieces of evidence concerning one and the same person. That was extremely challenging because not only he was born before World War I in a place where documents are nowhere near being available online, which is Poland, And also he moved to Israel. And as we all know, migration always creates a window for age inflation. So, for Israel, we collect these 17 pieces of evidence, and guess what? All these pieces confirmed of him having been born in 1903. Also, his life story. He remembers, for instance, seeing Kaiser Franz Joseph I of Austria-Hungary passing through his town. The Kaiser died in 1916, so it is likely that a 13-year-old boy or a younger one could have a decent memory of seeing a very important historical individual passing through his old town. And this is de facto a proxy validation, because the oldest record was issued in 1918, and the record had a special edition of his entry in it, and the edition was added in 1920. So he was aged 17 at the time the record was created, and thanks to this very record, obtained with maximum difficulty, the Guinness World Record was capable to validate his age. An example of Józef Kowalski of Poland, also a contender for World's Oldest Man title. Unfortunately, we didn't locate his birth record, but his sibling's birth record has excluded the possibility of him being born in the year he had claimed. Therefore, case debunked. And also the case of a lady from Poland, A.O. In her case, we were able to retrieve, after maximum effort, her original documentation from Belarus. I guess that today, such international action would have likely been impossible due to the political reasons. And as it turned out, in her very case, the age inflation by exactly 10 years happened due to the migration that happened after the war. Validation is very important. Here in this map on the left, you can see the raw data on Poland and the numbers of supercentenarians reported per Polish province called voivodeships. In the right, you can see the validated piece of data. And in this very chart, we could see the number of semi-supercentenarians in Poland. As you could see, the number has been growing exponentially. Due to the validation, we could finally observe what is the mortality rate of centenarians and semi-supercentenarians in Poland. The validated data is the green chart, which does reflect the reality, and the blue chart does not. The validation is extremely important for this case. Since we are short of time, I will skip these slots, but this is the topic of my PhD thesis, which I would be very happy to discuss with you afterwards. We have created a database that includes information for each supercentenarian, such as birth date, death date, the age, birthplace, death place, source of validation, because we very much appreciate every single volunteer, institution, organization that sends us the information and documentation, application date, and acceptance date. We could see a chart for Sweden, for Serbia, and also each supercentenarian has their own individual page. Here we can see an example of that for Tamara Krutikov, the first validated Serbian supercentenarian that lived not so long ago. She passed in 2022. We also have the world map, in which you can click on every country you find interesting, and you could see the entirety of the GRG validated data on supercentenarians from this very country. Also, you could see the GRG gallery, where all supercentenarians visited by us are photographed. The GRG covered in 2015 the following territory: green color, full data coverage; red color, reported supercentenarians, but no coverage at all. This fortunately changed. We are now in the new era, in which South America has seen especially fascinating advances, but another frontier is the Balkan area, due to the fact that we have received many talented volunteers from this area who enabled us to obtain data from these two, until then, virgin territories. So as of today, the GRG maintains its coverage on 55 countries, and that comprises 13% of the world living population, which is not much, still much to do. Over 2,665 validated supercentenarians as of the present day. Most of them in 5 countries, USA, Japan, Italy, France, and England. And as Natalie mentioned, less than 10% of all supercentenarians are males. However, as they get older, the male ratio gets even smaller than that. And as you can see, the maximum age of the oldest living person at a time has been growing exponentially with one super peak that is, of course, Jean Calment. However, the average age of the oldest living person has ever been growing ever since our observations started. And we were also able to point 4 macro regions in which people at age 114 emerge. We call them great supercentenarians. One of them was Tekla Juniewicz, the Jean Calment of Poland, who happened to be the first supercentenarian living north of the 50th parallel who reached the age of 116. Until then, such age was only observable in the Mediterranean region, in the Caribbean, or south of Japan. This is Tekla Juniewicz as she blows her candles on the day of her 116th birthday with her great-great-great-granddaughter, who happened to be born on the very same day as Tekla, and they celebrated their birthdays next year. Visiting supercentenarians is a very important part of our study. We have a great joy of visiting these people in person, validating their ages. We thus secure their place in history, but also our mission points on this very thing, that longevity can be achieved in each and every place on earth of people of all religions, all races, all origins, and that's very, very inspiring for the mankind. These are us with the oldest currently living person in Poland, Anna Gawłowska, who recently turned 111 years old. I may skip these pictures of Tekla because we don't have time anymore. This is Tekla with her daughter, one she managed to outlive, unfortunately. At the time, they were respectively 111 and 89. And thank you very much. I would like to say my special thanks to the team of GOG correspondents, which includes numerous people, many of them with PhDs by now, thanks to who we were able to build this database. We have continuously been building for 34 years now. And I would like to mention my special thanks to all family members for their priceless, unconditional love, without which the achievement of such ages, perhaps even with the addition of the best genes, wouldn't have been possible. And I would like to thank to Natalie and Aubrey, with whom we had recently a great joy of visiting Poland's oldest living person. To any of you who would like to become our country international correspondent and help in our mission to build the world's database of supercentenarian that can be used for all branches of science, from demography, epigenetics, and medicine, feel invited to join our team and to join our effort. Thank you very much.